Would you like to learn how to bake this beautiful loaf done with all-purpose flour? Stay watching this video and I'll show you how. Good morning everyone and welcome to a new bread video. But before we start baking bread, let's talk about flour, which is a complicated issue. There are a lot of kind of flours in the market. For example, bread flour, all-purpose flour, high gluten flour, strong wheat flour. Then we have 3-0 flour, 4-0 flour, whole wheat flour, semolina flour, spelt flour, and a zillion more. So I'm seeing your face and I know you're getting a little bit anxious. But don't worry, today I'll give you a new tip to find out which kind of flour you have at home with a very easy trick, just using a little bit of flour and a little bit of water. But before we start doing this new experiment and then baking some bread, we first need some flour. Today we won't be using a super flour. We'll be using instead a supermarket flour. So I'll be right back. And I'm back with the flour. Did I take too long? Let's start with the experiment. This experiment is all around an autolyze. You might be asking, what is an autolyze? First of all, remember that in this channel you have a lot of videos about this theme. So to sum up, what is the autolyze? It's really easy. We'll be mixing in a bowl without kneading 1 part of flour and a little bit of water. And then the only thing that we'll have to do is to wait and let it auto-knead by itself. The flour that I chose for the test of today is the easiest one, the one that you find in every supermarket. It's an all-purpose flour, also known as 4-0, and in a bowl we'll put 100 grams of this flour. Then we'll add 70 grams of water and we'll start mixing with a spoon or whatever you want. The idea is not to leave anything dry. So we'll try to hydrate all this flour without kneading. Just a few stirrs. And that's all, we're done. And always cover it with a film. Good, now that we have the dough mixed, not kneaded, we'll leave it here on the counter, covered for 1 hour. Good, so by the magic of the gluten, the dough has already finished the autolyze. To sum up, the autolyze, as I told you before, is just an auto-kneading. The gluten network is already developed, and that is what this tip or trick is all about. Remember that we've done a 70% hydration, and I want you to see this. So before we start the experiment, let's wet our hands. And now we take the dough out of the bowl and start stretching it with our fingers. The idea is that this membrane should look really translucent. Look, there are my fingers. So let's stretch it a little bit more, and now it's looking quite good. Oh, there's a hole. Don't worry, it's okay. This flour has approved 70% hydration. What do you think about this experiment? Really interesting, right? Okay, so the idea of this whole experiment is to check what hydration is the best for the flour that you're using. In this case, I've been using this all-purpose flour with a 70% hydration, which is normal for a sourdough loaf. But you can do this with every single new flour that you buy at the store, at the supermarket, or wherever. As you've seen, it's a really an easy experiment to do and to check what kind of flour do you have. So to go a little bit further, we'll be baking bread today with 3 different kinds of hydration. Of course, the 70 hydration we have already checked. Then we go a little bit lower to 60% hydration, and then we'll go up to 80% hydration and see what happens. So let's start baking. Time to start baking bread, and we'll start with the lower one, with the 60% hydration. The ingredients that we need are the same flour we've been using in the whole video, supermarket flour, then some water, sourdough starter, always really active, and some salt. And here is the formula. In a bowl, we'll put first the flour. Now we'll add the sourdough starter, then the water, but the only ingredient that we won't be using right now is the salt. Leave it apart and we'll be using it shortly. Now with a scraper or with your own hands, we'll start mixing. Remember that we're not kneading. This is exactly what we did at the beginning of the video. Let's mix it till we see no more dry flour. Remember that we're using 60% hydration, which is a little bit low, so the dough is a little bit drier than maybe 70%. We're done. Let's cover it. And now leave it here on the counter, resting for 1 hour. Good, it's been an hour and now it's time to add the last ingredient, salt. Since the dough is a little bit dry, to help us to incorporate the salt, I'll be adding a few drops of water. See how the dough is already kneaded? We only had to wait a few minutes. That's the magic of the autolyze. And I think we are almost done. Look what a beautiful dough. It was already kneaded by the autolyze. We'll let it rest here on the bowl and let's cover it as usual. So as you've seen, this is a really simple no kneading method. So now what is going to happen? The bulk fermentation is going to start. This will take around like 4 hours at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And at the beginning, it's not always needed. If you see that the dough needs some more tension, you can make some stretching and folding. Okay, bulk fermentation ready. And check this dough. It's beautiful, full of air, very bubbly. And it has almost double the size. So now it's time to shape this 60% hydration bread. Dough seems so tight and also full of air. So, looking good. I'm really liking the 60% hydration dough. It looks really tight and full of air. So, okay, let's finish shaping it. Now that it's already shaped, into the banneton. Now we can do two things. Wait for the bread for around 2 hours and then bake it, or maybe retard this fermentation in the fridge until tomorrow. Time to rise up the hydration. Now we're moving to 70% hydration. And the ingredients that we'll be using in this bread are the same ones as in the 60. And here is the formula. In a bowl, we'll put all the ingredients except for the salt. As before, we won't be kneading, just mixing all the ingredients. This 70% hydration, the absorption of the water is faster, and I don't see too much dry flour on this one. It looks good. This is the one that we did the first experiment. Autolyze 1 hour. Okay, time for the salt. And I think that's all. Take a look at the dough. It almost kneaded by itself. 70% hydration. I think it looked good, since we're using just an all-purpose flour. Okay, cover it 4 hours here on the counter. Time up. Check the dough. It has risen almost double in size. It's a little bit more squeezy and full of bubbles, so let's shape it. It looked quite good, not at the 60%, but it still holds its shape, full of air, bubbles. Let's shape it. Good, now we have 2 rows to take. If you want to do it in the direct way, we just wait for maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, and then straight into the oven. Or maybe you can retard it in low temperature and bake it tomorrow. This guy is going to make a nap. Are you lost with all the sourdough bread recipes that you find on the internet? Would you like to learn all the tips and tricks to make your own sourdough bread at home? Then I have the solution. I have designed the perfect masterclass of sourdough bread just made for you. By clicking the link on the description, you will learn how to make and take care of your sourdough starter, how to knead, shape, ferment and bake your sourdough bread, how to use and read the baker's percentage, all the basic techniques to bake like a pro at home, and how to read and understand your dough. Don't miss out on it and click the link on the description right now. Third recipe of the day, the one that scares me a lot, 80% hydration. We've seen that at 60% was okay, 70 was quite enough too, but now 80, I don't know what's going to happen, but I have to do it. The ingredients are the same ones as the other recipes, and here is the formula. In the bowl, we'll put all the ingredients, but remember, not the salt. Now, yes, I know that there's much water and less flour. It's a more hydrated dough, but here I go. It looks much more sticky. It's a sticky dough, but it's done. So time for the autolyze. And as we did before, cover it and leave it here on the counter for 1 hour. It's been an hour, last autolyze. Now let's add the salt. As this dough is so hydrated, I don't need to add more drops to dissolve the salt. I'm getting tired. Third dough in a row. It's not that sticky, and I think I'm done. Whoa. Oh, looks good. It's a little bit more stickier and runny. Look at the gluten. It's more relaxed, but we're using an all-purpose flour. So, okay, let's give it a try and continue with this. And now, let's cover it and let it rise slowly here on the counter for 4 hours. And again, by the magic of the gluten, the dough has risen for 4 hours. And of course, I'm afraid too, as you are. And look how slimy it is. It is full of air, really fermented. That show must go on, so I have to form this bread. It looks a little bit more runny. It's really relaxed, this dough, but it still holds its shape just a little bit, full of air, really fermented, sticky. Okay, let's do this. As you've seen, shaping this bread was a little bit more complicated, but although I did it. Now it's time to move it and put it into the banneton. And as we did with the 2 previous loaves, now we can leave it again here on the counter for around 1 hour, 2 hours and bake it, or take it into the fridge until tomorrow. Time to bake, and take a look how beautiful is our bread. Today I'll be baking on my Dutch oven, which is also preheated like the oven at 482 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, time to bake the second one. Take a look at how beautiful it is. Okay, it's time to bake the 80% hydration one. Take a look at this. It's like a slime, but it's still holding its form, so let's bake it. So come, I want you to see this. This is a couche of our banneton, and as you see, it's all wet. And it's wet because I think that we're using the wrong hydration. This one is 80% hydration, and we've tested this flour using just 70% hydration. So it's a good sign that maybe 80% is too much. But the bread is in the oven, so we'll go till the end. Time to remove the lid. Supermarket flour. And finally, here are the 3 loaves. The 60% hydration, 70% hydration, and 80% hydration. I know that you have already discovered which one was. The 60 is obviously the best one. For my surprise, I thought that 70% hydration was going to be the best one since we did the test at the beginning of the video, but the 60 really surprised me. This bread looks incredible. And the 80% hydration, well, okay, it's too much water for this flour. So look at the ears that this one has. The 60 really has an ear, beautiful. The oven spring has been incredible. It has a perfect volume, really, really light. I can hold it just with 2 fingers. I just want to see what it's inside. The 70, it's okay, it could have been better. We have a little ear, still very light too. And the 80, it's like a frisbee. No ear at all, but it's also light, so it's okay for a sandwich. And now comes the moment that you've been waiting for, and also me too. Time to open it and check the crumb. What? No. Adios. Okay, I think we need to stop this video. I don't understand a thing. I just use a regular all-purpose flour, the cheapest one that I found at the supermarket, and take a look at the results. This changes everything. Let's cut this one too, but I think you already know who's the winner. But we need to finish this. Oh, ho, ho. Nice crumb too, and remember we're using an all-purpose flour, and this is 70% hydration, which is a lot for this flour. I just can't believe it. Beautiful crumb too. Not maybe the volume that the 61 has. 70 is okay too. Time to cut the last loaf of the video. It's a beautiful crumb too. It has not risen too much in the oven, but as a regular crumb, which is good for toast or sandwiches, it's a nice bread too. But I think 80 was too much. So now that we have analyzed all the loaves and seen its crumb, let's do a final epilogue. At the beginning, I thought that this test was going to go around the 70% hydration, which is the usual that I use every time for my bread. But since we've been using this regular all-purpose flour bought at the supermarket, the evidence shows that 60% hydration is the right one for baking this kind of loaves with that flour. The test is really easy, you've seen it. You can check what hydration is the best one for every flour that you buy. So I hope this video has helped you a little bit maybe, or maybe a little bit more. Remember to give me a like, send me some comments, and I'll see you on the next one. I hope you have enjoyed this video. And if you want to learn more about sourdough bread and sourdough starter, I encourage you to check the link on the description. And remember, this masterclass was specially designed for you.